here has some foreigner locked up there. Thank you for getting me out. Just go to the rail yard and destroy those natural gas cars.
There's a front official who lives there. I need you to execute him.
Hello, welcome back to Frank's Penance. I'm currently hanging around in this cattle ranch. I've just finished killing a UFFL official who was preventing some troops being deployed to protect a natural gas train. The reasoning behind this was that Flora wants these troops to deploy so that she can kill their commander, and from my perspective I need to just destroy the natural gas train. Basically they're not going to be there until I arrive, so it hasn't provided me any disadvantage for doing this. So my next move is going to be to go and scout out the rail yard where the trains are currently being kept and see if I can find an easy way to take out the trains themselves. In the end, the loan shark boss agreed to my request. I gave him some bank transfer details and he gave me a pseudo-friendly warning that I'd be best to return the money before the end of the month. He gestured for Anna to lead me back to the front of the shop. Once we got there I expected her to come out and admit she knew I was a mole, but she didn't say anything. Inside I desperately wanted to ask her if she knew, but don't worry, I was a little more mature than the type of guy who'd blunder through an attempt to find out. She warned me about how important it was to make a quick return on the loan. I insisted I was fine in that regard and started moving to leave. Getting out of there was all I wanted to do, since I was still shitting myself about the prospect of the boss storming up and ripping my head off once he processed who I actually was. But quite the opposite happened. As I was leaving, Anna asked me to meet up with her later that evening in a local bar. I was way too strung up to work out why. I botched my reply, saying that I would check if I was allowed, roughly spinning into something about how being allowed by my schedule was what I meant. If she didn't already know I was a glorified police dog, she probably did now. Finally I got out of there, taking a fast-paced hike around the whole area in a weird pattern, thinking I'd be able to throw off anyone following me with my random routes. Then I was back in the car with Tony. He congratulated me and told me to write up some notes on my encounter in his pad before I forgot anything. I was pretty embarrassed to admit I wasn't so hot on the writing front, so he offered to scribe while I dictated the events. I pretty much left out all mention of Anna altogether, despite her being the most memorable part of the last half hour. So now I'm nearing the rail yard. I found this interesting approach through this little mountainous area, which gives me a great view over the whole rail yard itself, so I can look down using my monocular and scout out the area. On my map, it looks like the target train is one right in the middle. I can see one that looks like a natural gas car right there, so I know that's where I need to get to. Now while I was looking around, I was thinking it's going to be way easier to actually take it out from this perfect vantage point than to try and sneak in past all those guards and have to fight them. I realised that if I had some sort of heavy weapon like a rocket launcher, I could simply take it out from here. So I just popped back to a nearby weapon store to re-equip, and now I'm back here. You can see I brought this RPG, so I'm going to see if my little plan will work. I need to be fairly accurate in making sure I don't hit any of the other trains slightly in front of my target train, but I actually have a pretty good view, and it seems like none of the guards are on the lookout. Luckily there are no snipers looking for me up here. So I fire off the shot. Will it hit? Yes it does. The train is destroyed and Flora is immediately on the phone.
Okay, the train's rolling. I'm going to go stop it the hard way. Meet me up the tracks as soon as you can.
So I've now completed my mission for the APR. The train is gone, but now I need to go and help Flora because she's going to attempt to ambush these UFLL troops, and she probably won't be able to do it on her own, although last time I thought that she actually took down a whole convoy just using an assault rifle. So let's go and help her out if she needs it. Once it was over, I was free until our next meetup tomorrow, which would be a trip to the bank to make sure our dirty money was on the way. A whole evening with nothing to do but think about that offer of a drink I had from the least crazy person I'd encountered so far, or the least crazy person who was criminal enough to be on my wavelength anyway. Didn't take long before I was walking through the noisy streets to find the nearest taxi. The bar was a generic sort of place, a successful small business with a future as a chain of fake successful small businesses. I looked around the whole place and didn't see Anna, but she was walking in just as I got back to the entrance. She wasn't surprised I had showed up. She wasn't the type to get turned down, I guess. She certainly looked much better outside of that electronics purgatory. The drinks were on her, about which I had no idea if it was normal to complain. I followed her to a table and sat awkwardly, realizing I hadn't really thought this whole thing through. I had nothing I really wanted to say, or at least nothing interesting I could say without straight up showing her my police papers. Luckily, she was in interview mode and began bombarding me with questions. Generic life story stuff, wanting to know who my friends were, where I grew up, all good stuff that was easy to lie about. The problem was that she then asked how I got out of prison, and I hadn't even mentioned that part. She noticed me squirm and explained that she knew the look of people fresh out of prison, and that it was something to do with my subtle hostility that I showed towards everyone around me. I said nothing. What was I meant to say? Admit that I was out of prison so recently that my bunk was still warm? She started consoling me in some way, assuring me that both her and everyone else in this bar were friendly, that I had nothing to worry about. I could almost feel a kidnapping creeping onto the scene, but in a rare twist she was pretty genuine. Her friendly manner was getting to me, probably because I hadn't really known anything like it, especially not from a woman. Inevitably, she got me hooked, intoxicated on the booze and her sympathetic ear. So as I come around the bend, I see the destroyed train on the tracks in front of me. There are explosions going off and I can hear gunfire, but I can't see any of the hostiles, nor can I see Flora, so I'm going to park up and try and make my way towards all the sounds I can hear. Unfortunately, I'm getting stuck on half the items on the terrain. I managed to see one guy and take him out. It tells me that Flora is somewhere off to my right. I really need to get through this train line and onto the other side. Suddenly it tells me the mission is completed. That means that Flora must have defeated all the enemies in this area, so I didn't really contribute to the fight at all, although I did kill that one guy, so slightly more of a contribution than I did when helping her ambush that convoy. So I wanted to see where Flora actually was. I had no idea where she'd been firing from. Obviously somewhere quite good, because she'd taken out all the enemies on this troop train. Eventually found this little sandbagged area where she was hanging out, so actually a pretty good position. Flora says she's going to go and scavenge the train. Probably a good idea. So now the mission is completed. Flora's okay. Everything went just as planned. It's time for me to head back to Parla to pick up the next mission to go and do. As you might guess, that wasn't the last time we met up outside of work. She was tactful enough to never again ask me how I got out of prison, or even drop any hint that she knew the real deal with me. The deadline for paying back my loan crept up, but it didn't mean anything to me since it was Tony who would be handed the bill. Tony had actually been keeping himself busy with a plan to get in right at the top of the ring, becoming a financier providing the loan sharks floats, partially as a gift to the IRA cause, and partly to buy access to the ring's luxurious hotel suites, which he now got to spend half his time in. I didn't see him for a week before we met to get together the money to pay off the loan. Then I didn't see him for 2 more weeks after that. I was on my own, living on someone else's money but my own time, skirting around the local haunts in search of something to relieve the boredom, save for the days I had play dates with Anna. Although, the dates were turning more and more into business meetings. Just as Tony had hoped, I was starting to get in on the loan shark scam, at first just helping out Anna with scoping out potential victims, but soon actually enforcing the deals and going to meetings with her boss. I quickly learned a variety of juicy details about the ring, locations, real names, other sources of finance, but I barely told Tony anything. He was so busy that I wasn't really required to explain my day-to-day efforts to him, just the occasional debrief where I'd reveal maybe 10% of what I was really learning, just to make it seem like I was progressing. It seemed he expected so little of me that those morsels were enough to justify the cost of keeping me on the team. And so the farce continued. So I've now returned to the APR headquarters. I'm going to give up my gear and head inside. There are no UFLL missions at the moment. It seems it's just the APR offering things to foreign mercenaries like myself. So I'm going to head in, go upstairs, eavesdrop on their conversations, and then get the next mission. Hopefully it'll be something more inspiring than the last one.
People say a lot of crazy things.
I also heard that somebody was paid to come here and kill him.
Who, the Jackal? Come on, guy's an arms dealer. Who'd want to kill a guy like that?
APR is the shit now, thanks to you, yeah? And thanks to me.
I've heard things about you. Terrible, evil things. Want a job?
You sending this guy?
It's perfect. We're planning an attack on the UFLL motor pool. There are a hell of a lot of their vehicles on the road. We like the enemy better when he's on foot. The motor pool's over by the landfill west of town. You can't miss it. You sure as hell can't miss the smell. We, meaning Prosper and I, want you to find that motor pool and take it out. It's Spieler's choice, all right? You handle it any way you like. It's none of my damn business. Just be sure you take out the air compressors.
Today you're being paid to blow things up. Tell me you do not love your job.
Here's your money. Now get on out to that landfill and destroy those compressors. Hey, word to the wise. Even the APR boys will take a shot at you if they get the chance. So watch yourself.
So it looks like it's a pretty basic mission. All we have to do is go and take out some UFLL assets at a motor pool nearby, destroying specifically their air compressor. So it looks like this is just going to be a little operation in APR's slowly escalating war with their rivals, the UFLL. So there may not be much substance to this mission, definitely not much in it for me personally. We'll see if Flora on the phone has any better ideas.
It's Flora. Meet me just over the hill from the cattle ranch.
So she does want to get involved in this mission. I need to meet her near the cattle ranch. Yet again, going back to that cattle ranch, it seems that's one of Flora's favourite locations. Unfortunately, it's absolutely miles from the mission location, so it's going to be a giant detour, but it might be worth it. She might have a good plan for us to follow, so I'm going to head up there and see what she has planned. The most important thing was to make sure he thought I wasn't making any money from my work. In the original plan, any loan money I made was to be reinvested in the Sting project itself, but by keeping Tony in the dark, I could effectively keep it for myself, mostly in a bank account set up in a false name I'd tucked away. This arrangement was pretty ideal for the Sharks, since even if they knew I was a spy, which I'm sure at least Anna did, the ring was getting extra money through my contributions and could rely on my personal greed for a good while to keep me from actually leaking information. Anna was getting a pretty good deal too, as although she didn't help me out all that much, when she asked for large cuts of the take, I was happy to provide. It was a tacit bribe to keep my secrets hidden and our relationship going, both of which were services upon which my entire life depended. So I've made it to Flora's location. I'm going to head in and get her views on this mission and see if it's going to make me act any differently. She has a shotgun lying on the floor, quite interesting. Anyway, let's see what she has to say.
Over here. So they're paying you to take out the motor pool. APR's destroying this entire country. So is the UFLL, frankly. Do you know the big oil terminal north of here? The front has an office there. Inside the office, there's a map. I need it. Think you can get it for me? The map shows the routes that their trucks follow. They change the routes every other day so nobody can track them. After you blow up the motor pool, every one of those drivers is going to return to the terminal as fast as they can. Because they're all carrying gas and everybody wants gas around here. The trucks are disguised. The UFLL keeps their fuel reserve on wheels so they can keep it mobile. Nobody can attack it, except maybe me. I'm going to ambush the trucks as they come in. I'll try to steal one and blow up the rest. Or maybe blow them all up. I haven't decided yet. It might get hairy. I could use your help getting out of there.
So it looks like Flora's plan is to have me go and steal a map which will help her ambush some UFLL fuel convoys, which will mean the UFLL are going to take even more damage in this mission. But anyway, she needs these maps to work out the routes they're going to be following, possibly rushing home to their fuel depot after hearing of my attack on the motor pool. Luckily, the location where the map is actually really nearby. It's just around the corner from my current location. So I'm just going to quickly drive over there now. Interestingly, on the way, you can see we're going past the destroyed remains of that train that Flora ambushed. So actually, right back where she was. Perhaps she only just finished scavenging it. That's why she was hanging around here for this mission. So if I can get my driving skills together, I'm going to skip around this whole area and then drive over the more open desert section right on the edge of the map and approach this fuel depot from the north, not using either the rail or road entrances, since it's pretty likely those entrances are going to be guarded in some way. So the first thing I can do is come up on this little raised area and give myself a chance to scout out what they have there. It looks like my objective is right in the middle of this depot, so I'm going to have to get in close to find the map. I can't just rely on shooting stuff from a distance this time. My binocular says there's something there. I couldn't tell what it was because there was a tree in the way, so I'm going to slightly reposition and have a look around again. I spot there's actually a sniper. He's looking right at me right now, but he doesn't spot me, luckily. So I'm going to carefully make my way towards the little wall around the outside of this compound. Now I'm completely in the open and the sniper could easily see me. I notice he's gradually moving his field of view, but then he looks away from me, so I'm quite safe for now. I'm going to use these rocks as well to give myself a little bit of cover as I approach. But for the most part I am just running across open ground. The good news is that once I get to that fence, the fact that he's on top of this big gas canister is going to stop him from actually seeing me, because I'll be in a little defilade position. So I need to get as close as I can. I am at the moment ignoring the prospect of there being other enemies just outside the compound here, because it looks like it's pretty clear. I'm assuming most of them are going to be actually inside the buildings that are behind these walls. I spot a car moving in the distance. It seems more enemies are coming in, or perhaps they're just patrolling, so it is a bit risky to be hanging around. There's this very convenient gap in the wall that I can use to get in. So I'm going to sneak in and see what the threats inside look like. I don't see anyone at first. There are a couple of guys over by a checkpoint I can see by the road entrance, so it's good I didn't come in by the road. Now I can sneak up the stairs on top of this big gas Goliath and see if I can take out the sniper without him noticing me. I also need to not get noticed by the guys hanging out at that checkpoint. There are more guys behind them as well in the little booth hanging around. So I need to come up the stairs, hope the sniper isn't looking at me. Ideally he's facing the absolute opposite direction, doesn't see me at all, and I take him out absolutely silently. Perfect. So they still don't know I'm here. I'm going to have to get past these guys though. There's a lot of guys hanging around. The map is somewhere in front of me in this building I'm looking at now, so it's pretty unlikely I'll be able to get into that building without all these guys who are walking around outside it noticing me. So the obvious answer is to attempt to take them out while I'm up here, because I've got a pretty good position. Now I noticed the sniper has dropped his sniper rifle on the ground. I was thinking I could pick it up and try and start picking off the enemies from here. I also spotted there's actually a briefcase of diamonds on top of one of those trains, but it's not the time for me to be getting it now. So first I threw a petrol bomb. This was to just provide a distraction, make the enemies go and wonder why a fire has suddenly started over by that road checkpoint. Now I'm going to use this rocket launcher to take out the enemy. Now they've bunched together. I managed to take out a couple of them, I think at least, with that shot. They've probably been alerted to my presence now, so I decide to just go loud and take them out. I'm not going to use the sniper rifle, I'm just going to use the scope on this assault rifle because it's pretty good. We're not at extreme range. The big problem is that this assault rifle is really manky, as you can see, and it's jamming up all the time. It's not in good condition. I've pretty much found it on the floor. I think this is one of Flora's old guns actually. But it's still pretty effective at just taking out these guys. It actually has a pretty good zoom on the scope. Not even that different to the sniper rifle. The sniper rifle having the downside that it's bolt action, so I'd have to wait longer between shots if I missed. So I take out a few guys. I take out the patrolling car as well in the distance, just in case it was going to come in and disrupt my assault. So now I'm going to sneak in towards the building itself. I switch back to silenced pistol on the off chance that I can now fade out of the memories of any remaining guards and take them out silently if I encounter them. There are a couple of guards hanging around over there, but I'm going to ignore them for now to go into the building with the objective. The map is right here on the table, so I can just pick it up, no resistance whatsoever. Very good, so we've now got the map. This map actually magically teleports to Flora. I don't have to take it back to her, which is very good news.
I'll start setting up. Hit the motor pool whenever you're ready.
So, as Flora says, all I have to do now is head over to the motor pool and begin my attack and start taking out those air compressors that were mentioned. It's quite far away. There's a whole lot of rubbish between me and its location. There's no easy way to get there using the bus network, but I thought I probably can get there if I drive off the map and then drive around in the desert and then come back into the map, which you can do for limited amounts of time. You die if you stay off the map for too long. Although first I have to get out of this compound, and the remaining guards, which I actually assumed wouldn't be around anymore, are going to prevent me from leaving completely with ease. But still, once I fight my way out of here, I'll be right on my way to the next stage of this fight. Basically, the sneaky shark arrangement went on for a couple of months, rendering me sufficiently wealthy to know I could live for a good while without police support if I wanted to. But it all ended when Tonely finally decided to cross our investigative streams and attempt an actual sting mission. He had got himself pretty deep into the pockets of the ring higher-ups and had enough evidence to convict them if we could just arrest them without them slipping away. We knew that they had contacts in the police, so we had to detain them in secret and then force the boys in blue to come and pick them up. The first move was for me to not repay a large loan I'd taken from Anna's boss, which was convenient for me since I had subloaned a bunch of it pretty poorly and couldn't get it back in time anyway. The plan was for Tony to come in and claim that the money was ultimately his so that he would have the last word on how I was treated, thus avoiding me being beaten to a pulp. He also introduced me to this other guy, Gareth, an employee at the Shark Hotel who was helping the ring by letting them in and out secretly at night, and helping the police by letting them know every time this happened. Turned out Tony had done pretty well at scoping out the whole operation. I bet he didn't keep a penny for himself though. A couple of days before the debt was due, feeling like I might end up in a not so healthy state in the near future, I finally decided to bite the bullet and visit Garrison. It was a long drive in a hired car, drifting through the autumnal countryside that had been my entire world not so long ago. When I got close, I even drove right past the routes I had taken with Fergal and the crew. It stirred feelings that made me regret going back there. But I had business to take care of, so carried on. Garrison hadn't changed a bit, which surprised me, but I should have guessed that would be the case. It probably hasn't changed since that visit either. It was too small a place to get noticed in the global battle of the businesses that was sweeping through most places. I wanted to walk around for a bit, but you couldn't go 2 minutes in Garrison without seeing a familiar face, which I wasn't really up for. So instead I had to get right down to it. I had to go to my house. The door opened to reveal my shocked mother, who was beyond happy to see me. She had given up on me, thinking I was still in prison and assuming, like I had been, that I would end up spending half my life in similar places. Not too far from the truth anyway. I don't really remember how I felt to see her again, but I certainly wasn't as ecstatic as she was. She had evidently missed me a lot more than I'd missed her. I remember that it made me guilty that I couldn't feel the same joy as her. I wanted this reunion to be happy, but I just wasn't the type to be happy. My father's possessions still littered the cramped house, probably a deliberate choice by my mother. I didn't really miss him or feel bad, nor do I think that was a problem. In a sense, I just never knew him, or at least forced myself to forget him by that point. Being there did stir memories, but I kept a straight face and focused on doing what needed to be done. I told my mother I could not reveal why I'd been released, but that I did now have a steady job. She assumed I meant I'd been broken out by the IRA and was back with them or something, and seemed so frustrated that I felt quite offended by her presumption of guilt. I insisted it was nothing to do with the IRA and she calmed down, but I had no idea if she was faking it. It was this conversation that made me realise something that would haunt me from then on. That I was a huge disappointment to her. That all her innocent hopes for me had long since been replaced with a bare hope that I was still alive. I was nothing like she had dreamed I would be, and it was too late for her to change it, or for me. So I'm now in this little forested area where the motor pool is hidden. There's an interesting moon-shaped crescent area on the south side of it which is completely hidden from all the buildings. I'm trying to get over that area and get into the actual plateau where the buildings are located. So now I've seen them, I see there are a few guards around, I don't actually see any vehicles. But in theory, somewhere in there is an air compressor. It's marked on my map as being towards the southeast corner, so I'm going right around the area to try and come in a direction that will put me as close to my target as possible. The whole area is full of corners and little hiding places, so I thought I can probably get in without being seen. I might even be able to complete the entire mission without actually instigating any fighting. So with that in mind, I'm going to attempt to get in. I'm sneaking forwards, crouched down. There's a guard right there. I thought I can probably take this guy out, and because there's so much cover everywhere, no one will notice that he's dead. I take him out with a quick headshot from my silenced pistol, and it seems there's no reaction from any other nearby guards. So good news, I've got in to my first little bit of this enemy encampment. Now I'm going to sneak through some of these old disused train cars to try and get closer to the objective. This little building right in front of me is the objective, which means I need to probably get inside it. So the question is, where are the doors? I'm going to have to sneak around to other sides of the building, which means I'm going to expose myself to being seen from lots of other directions. So this is quite dangerous. Luckily the door isn't too far away, and I managed to get in without being spotted. So right here, this is the air compressor, I believe, that he was talking about. I wanted to see if the building was clear. It looked like there was no one else actually in here. So I need to take out this air compressor and then somehow get out. But while I'm considering the best way to do this, these guys outside the door spot me. I managed to kill one, the other one takes a few shots to go down, another guy has appeared behind me, the air compressor started leaking, I finished off with a grenade, shoot my way out, and start sprinting for cover. There are guards everywhere, take out a couple of them with some wild hip firing. Flora's on the phone, I need to talk to her quickly.
I'm on the edge of the landfill if you want to watch me. It's going to be...
So it turns out Flora is actually really close by. She's right on the edge of the landfill, which is where I am now. So I just need to get over there. The problem is I'm being attacked from all directions, so I need to fight my way over there. I can see guys running through the gaps between these train cars. For the most part, I don't care about them. I need to get to Flora's location up there and help her out if the ambush is going poorly. I take out a few of the guys pursuing me to make it a little bit easier. It seems they don't really know where I am. They weren't really looking for me in the direction I was going. The weapon jams yet again. This is becoming a common theme. This weapon can only really get through half a clip before it jams, which is very annoying. It means essentially you have to reload it twice as often. Still, looks like this outer area is still relatively unguarded. I see some smoke going up on the horizon just now, so I think the ambush has begun. I need to get over to where Flora is as soon as possible. I don't see any enemies at the moment. I need to come up over this ridge. It looks like there's a small road leading to the location marked on my map as the ambush point. I can hear a few shots, I can see guys, some buildings right in the distance, so it looks like that's probably where Flora is fighting. I can hear more gunfire, and even see a couple of enemies now, so I'm going to start getting involved in this fight. I take out this first guy with some precise shooting at first, which misses, and then I finish him with a regular burst. Flora looks like she's up on the platform on the left hand side. There are a few guys hanging around down here. I can't see any enemies. I think Flora's probably already killed some of them. The mission is completed after I kill that guy, which means all the enemies are down. But then I noticed that Flora is also down. She took a shot right at the last minute and is now injured on the floor. We've had this before. I need to try and heal her back to health by giving her enough morphine to get through this gunshot situation. So I'm going to start slamming them in. Unfortunately, the first one doesn't seem to do anything. She still seems to be dying. Luckily, it gives me the option to try it again. I've got 3 or 4 of these Surrettes, so I can keep slamming them in. So after the second one, it seems she's still not willing to get up. I'm not really sure why. She seems to have taken some pretty critical wounds in this gunfight. Maybe she's finally met her match in this ambush. She seemed to be so good at ambushing before, but this time she's in trouble. And after the third Surrette, she falls unconscious and now will die. So, looks like I failed to save Flora from this one, or at least she got herself in a little bit too deep. So it's the end for the long-running relationship between Frank and Flora here in South Mali. There's still another enemy who appears to distract me whilst I'm considering this unfortunate demise. I can't see where he is. I think he's just over this little ridge here. I pick up some ammo and then unleash it on this last guy, finishing him off with uncontrolled bursts, and the gun jams yet again at the perfect time for me to have just finished him off. So Flora is gone. This means that Paul Ferenc will now be Frank's best buddy left in South Mali, and in the future he will provide us with alternate missions. But for now, Frank is going to have to deal with having lost another one of his close comrades in fighting, and it being pretty much his fault for getting her involved. Anyway, there'll still be more action to come, and we'll be seeing that next time on Frank's Penance.